Yeah, buddy. Strong team. Strong team. And Firefly, you know, only 20 years old, one of the younger players of Dragon Phoenix Gaming, and he seems to be getting better and better and better every year. And I feel like this is one of those players that we could be looking at in a couple of years' time in, like, say, 2021, 2022. We could see Firefly actually making top 8, top 4 in some of these season finals and stuff like that. I actually feel like he's got a lot of potential of doing very, very good things. But, of course, time does have a fair leg ahead of him. If anyone from China is going to impress, then it is very likely to be this Terran here in the bottom right.
Yeah, it's interesting. You gotta wonder sometimes. Oh, nice save. How much face time they get with like the heavy hitters on the team, because Dragon Phoenix Gaming has parting on there as well, right? And you would imagine that would be pretty beneficial to your career as a Protoss player. There's actually another Chinese Protoss player on the roster as well, Enchant, who was also playing in these qualifiers. So I don't think, when I look at Firefly's play, I don't really think of parting builds. So yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes you see players really rub off on each other, but I don't think that's much of a case in this scenario.
That's more of an R-rated thing that we don't see a lot in the esports broadcasts. Players rubbing off on each other, but we do generally see from Firefly's gateway pressure. That's definitely something that Parting is an expert of. And then he is, I agree with you, a pretty standard Protoss for the most part. Generally a bit more of a, you know, he's not like that. You know, 3-gas mass gateway swarmy Protoss style. He's a bit more of like a, you know, I'll get my Colossus up, go in disruptors, and just sort of play relatively normal and you know, blink Colossus sort of disruptor sort of compositions. It's generally where he's been leaning, at least in, you know, against some of the Korean Terrans that he's playing in Lima League and that sort of thing. I'd imagine against Time it'd be very similar, as Time is very like a Korean Terran.
Yeah, I very much feel like Blink and Colossus is like the meat and potatoes of Firefly's army when I've watched him. So that's more or less what I'm expecting here. And there's a Twilight Council coming out for Firefly just as we say that.
Yeah, Blink opener here for the Protoss, very likely. Reaper continuing to evade the Adept, but will go down as now there's 2 of the Gateway units up, which should just be able to force that Reaper to die. And back at home, what is Time up to? We're seeing a second barracks go down here. Is that second barracks before the factory? Oh, no, it's after the factory there. So it is actually like a different kind of 2-1-1. It's one of those ones where you do, of course, get a bigger ball of Marines. Time is actually starting a Cyclone here. He did not see the Twilight Council, so he's just trying to cover his bases literally and figuratively, just in case there's a Stargate opening. The Cyclone can get rid of Stargate units, but also defend against small numbers of Gateway units.
Yeah, that little Adept Shade is hoping for an open door there, but just gets a little looksy and gets out. Oh.
The Invisible Man Clubhouse being bought here by Firefly. I like it. I like this a lot. This is how you defeat Time. Honestly, I like this.
Yeah, you need something a little weird. This is also not something that I would really expect from Firefly. And you know, if you play to what people think you're going to do, it tends to be Blink into Colossus and a third base. A little bit of a gentleman's agreement, perhaps, as the Terran, at least in Time's case, will tend to do the same thing. You know, you make an assumption or two, but yeah, this is interesting. That Warp Prism coming out as well. And Time, I mean, he doesn't really have an opportunity to scout.
Not really. With the Reaper dead here and, you know, not going for a medevac opener, that's your other follow-up scout as a Terran, is that you go across there with a medevac drop with metamines. It's like an attack and also a scout at the same time, right? So with the second barracks, like, obviously things like starport units are a little bit delayed here, but the Invisible Man will be hitting before the medevac would be out anyway, or the medevac would be across the map anyway. So these DTs are going to be hitting very hard, very fast. Marine moves out. Is this DT a move command? It is. So unless Time is paying specifically close attention to this Marine, he will have missed that Dark Templar. He does see the Prism, though. And Time is going to... Oh, he's just going to tap out because he's got no scans. Firefly getting a 4-minute and 50-second win against #1 in China with the Invisible Men.
Well, currently leading 1-0. That's TVZ. So make sure you pull that up as well. But we are now in Oxide, as you mentioned, Maynard. And it is time for more TvP action. In the bottom left, in the blue from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it's Firefly.
Certainly is well spotted. And the top right, I spy with my little eye a red Terran from Kaisi Gaming. This is Time. and I actually quite like this map. It's a little bit more on the stock standard side. It's large, of course. Two things that generally, Terrans aren't a huge fan of, but it's not too wild. And I like the maps that are a little bit more, a little bit more on the standard side. I'm a big fan of those. That said, though, I have a special place in my heart specifically for Golden Wall. I'm a bit sad to see that map gone. I really do hope that going forward, obviously, there's been the big update, which caused a lot of drama from a lot of people out there in the world thinking that, oh my God, it's the end. Actually, really, no, it doesn't change anything at all as far as esports is concerned. So if you're here primarily concerned about Starcraft esports, nothing's changed whatsoever. But we're going to have more and more ladder maps is where I'm getting at. We're going to have more seasons coming in. The ladder maps will continue to be updated, and the ladder maps are generally made by the community. I do hope that we get to see a few more boundaries being pushed by maps like Golden Wall. I really love what they were going for there, and even though it got vetoed quite a bit, it also led, I feel like, to some of the more interesting games as well. So, trying to play with some of the features that we have, an incredibly powerful map editor. I'd love to see some wild maps. So my mind and my heart are open for those ones as much as I like Oxide.
Certainly, yeah. And I think given time, we saw Golden Wall sneak in a little bit more. Same with Submarine. It got banned a lot, but there were a few matches where it started to sort of pop in. It still gets banned a lot now, but it's not like avoid it like the plague, right? People sort of get used to it. They figure out what works on it. Just the same as the meta shifts, right? Last time we were casting, I'm pretty sure the Terran 2 base tank pushes were still all the rage in TvP. And Protoss, well, they got pretty good at defending it, so it's not as much of a thing now. Luckily for Time, he wasn't too big on that anyway, so I don't think stylistically he suffered here, being like, gee, now I don't know what to do against Protoss. But yeah, we've seen some shifts in the meta, and things like that DT build we saw in the last game becoming a little bit more common as well.
Well, we are seeing the Twilight Council again, and normally we see that Twilight Council and we're like, oh, it's a normal blink opener, and I think that's no doubt what Time probably assumed in game one. Oh, just a normal blink opener. Of course, that wasn't the case. So we'll keep an eye on the build order list here for Firefly. It is, of course, a shield battery in the main mineral line, so Firefly doesn't have to keep the Adept at home. That means the Reaper's not going to kill any probes. Get across to the natural very quickly. With Time having 3 Marines now, I can actually make a bit of a fight on the front doorstep here against that Adept, going Cyclone again. This time we are seeing Blink from Firefly. The Reaper from Time is actually still alive. Remember last game, Time actually lost that Reaper at this point.
Yeah, Reaper's still hunting around looking for that tech, as Insano showed us just before. He didn't actually see that Twilight Council tech, so coming back in to check and make sure, okay, that's Twilight Council and it looks like it's upgrading. That's fantastic information to have. There's that little gateway probe. Oh, I'm sorry, Stalker friend.
Oh, and Adept friend.
Wow.
Firefly getting a little bit too big for his britches there, and Time slaps him back, gets the Stalker and Adept for free. Yes, he lost some SCVs, lost some natural mining time, but that's very good for the Terran to have gotten those 2 units.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to forget how much damage a Cyclone can do that quickly. I didn't expect both to go down at once there, but Firefly just continuing on with his game plan here. He's going to move out with a couple of Stalkers just to keep his opponent honest, but otherwise moving into that 3rd base. And there's that Robo that often follows up the Blink play.
Yep. So very, very normal here from Firefly. I do believe he's on 3 gateways, not 4. I'm going to get a gateway count here from the OBS. Please say no. Yeah, so just the 3-gate Robo. Very normal opening here from the Protoss. You can, of course, get enough Stalkers out to give yourself a little bit of map control. Very good defensively as well, going towards, when the Terran gets towards having their +1 push, which every Terran loves to do, Time included.
That's exactly right. And similarly, Firefly will be just kind of looking to see what Time's actually going to be thrown out on the map here. It's important to understand, obviously, okay, when's this coming? What sort of push do I need to be prepared for here so he knows to swap in? So with the Cyclone and the Reaper in the lead here, he's going to start marching out with a couple of tanks in tow and putting on that precious stim has just finished up. And back at home, just adding on some of those reactors, extra production in the mix. And hopefully leading into the mid-game here. Now that base is in a little bit of trouble if you can get a nice position with those tanks. Oh, but the offensive Blink straight on top snipes one tank immediately. Stalker's taking a lot of damage from that though.
Yeah, I think the problem is here that he's got the tank, but he's going to lose a lot of Stalkers in the midst of this defense because the Marine count is quite high. Even without +1 attack, the Marine count with medevac support and stim is deadly here. And I'm not sure if Firefly gets this tank, Zeph. Oh, no, that's it.
Oh,
Firefly, I think, has lost way too many units. The third Nexus is going to go down. And Time can honestly continue to attack because Firefly has no army.
gosh. These guys aren't messing around, are they? These Stalkers
Nope.
just cannot contest this. They're going to get the siege tank there, but there's more units rallying across the map from Time. He knows this is the momentum he needs, and
Wow.
just like that,
Dude, playing a best of 5, and I feel like in a longer series, you're going to have a tougher time anyway. So why not make that top 4 guaranteed, get a lot of money, and a lot more EPT points as well. But we're talking about this guy in the bottom right. We're theory crafting a little bit for this fine gentleman from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. This is Firefly.
and in the top left, the representative from Kaiser Gaming, it is Time. Yeah, I think Firefly's had some success in the past opting for something a little bit different in the opener. Ultimately, he still tends to end up in that Blink Colossus composition at the end of the day. But he's done stuff like, actually, I'm going to go charge, or I'm going to open Phoenix. And those are times where he's actually been able to really give Time a run for his money. So perhaps that's the tweak you make here, if anything. I guess it depends if he's in that underhanded mood that you were talking about.
Ah, man. Get underhanded, dude. Seeing a Cyber Next core before the Nexus here is sort of, there's not generally a whole lot to talk about in early game TvP unless someone's proxying something. But Nexus first, rather Cybercore first, is not the usual opener. Normally it's Nexus into Cybercore. So we could be seeing maybe an attempt from Firefly to put on some earlier pressure, or maybe he's feeling like, oh, this is a map where sometimes Terrans proxy me on the ladder. So I'm just trying to be careful.
Yeah, certainly. There is like a wombo combo, I guess, with core first. Like, you send the 2 adepts and the stalker across the map early on, and if as a Terran you really don't have anything to defend with, you don't have a bunker, that can be a pretty bad time for you because Protoss units early on, they do a bit of damage. They're a bit hard to clean up. So a lot of Terrans just try and play really safe early on and make sure that they've dropped that bunker.
Yep. I mean, cutting the bunker against Firefly, I feel like is always a mistake. It feels like a little bit of lack of respect if you don't get a bunker against Firefly, actually. Ooh, I got a little bit of chunk in here. Hopefully that's not affecting the game.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Hopefully the
do it
players
to
aren't
us.
feeling this.
China 7, please.
Yeah. Firefly being very vigilant with this probe, scouting all over the place, making sure there's not a starport hidden for these Hellions. Starport Hellion is a very common strategy all over the place right now. Oof, I hope that chunkin clears up. I mean, obviously, if the players are feeling this, then they would have asked for a pause by now. So, no one is this patient if they have this kind of chunkin. So
Yeah,
don't worry, guys. I'm sure it'll stabilize soon-ish. And the players aren't feeling it.
Yeah.
I hope.
Bear with us. It's like a PowerPoint version of how this game is going.
Yeah, we're slide showing this video game for you guys. Remember PowerPoint? Does PowerPoint still exist?
Yeah,
People still
man.
use that?
Unfortunately, I use it in my normie job now and then.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's why I haven't seen it, because I haven't had a normie job in ages. Ah, there you go.
You chose well.
Pluses and minuses of being a Twitch streamer. I do miss having a guaranteed number of money per year. That was nice.
Well, Firefly is sticking with the old faithful blink into Robo. That's what he loves. That's what he knows. Can't blame him. Time is doing his best to try and get a little bit of a poke at the front door here, having a look around. That probe denies entry to that natural. But again, Time, he's actually setting up. He's got 2 bunkers on the way.
This is the ugliest wall from Firefly, by the way.
Oh man, it's perfect
Are you sure?
in its own unique way.
Perfect in its weirdness, like the ugly duckling that becomes a beautiful swan.
And there's that Chrono to whip that blink out just that little bit faster. And at home time, just continuing to make tanks. He's made a third CC? Yeah, he has, yeah.
Indeed. Time seems to be really afraid of like a big blink attack. He's got a bunker in the main base. Ooh,
yeah,
gonna block the third. Nice.
Very well done. Having not been able to scout inside the base and understand what he's actually doing, he's being very cautious here. He's just sitting back, making the tanks, keeping the bunkers, because he doesn't want to get caught out by a build that he's just not quite prepared for. So better to be safe than sorry. I can respect that. Well, of course, without God Vision, we could see that Firefly is been looking towards Colossus here and wasn't planning anything too impactful against Time just yet, but obviously having the Hellions roaming around and seeing that he's trying to take a third base, that makes you relax a little bit, because you're like, oh, okay, good, it's not some all-in that's just not arrived yet.
No, we are seeing the Colossus. This is kind of what I expected from Firefly a little bit more, is that like sort of blink opener into Colossus like we were talking about. This is generally how he likes to play his PvTs. Didn't really work out from last game. This time hit that really sharp timing across the map and just kind of ripped his face off. This game, both actually being quite conservative.
Yeah, bit of a gentleman's agreement. I guess being game 3, neither one wants to be too wacky and potentially lose it for themselves. So yeah, Firefly is going to get that third base up uncontested this time. For now, at least. I'm sure Time is just waiting for the upgrades to kick in here before he maybe moves out and starts to put a bit of pressure on. I've been a little bit surprised to not see him open mine drop, because, I mean, in general, a lot of Terrans are still opening with that, but he does it quite a bit himself.
Yeah. Actually seeing the Dark Shrine go down a little bit quicker here, which is interesting. I mean, I like the Dark Shrine a little bit earlier. I think the Dark Shrine in general is one of those things that, I mean, we just saw in game 1 in pure example. It can just win you the game. The DTs, especially if you can, at this point in the game, you generally can make enough to shift click into each mineral line. That is generally very tough for the Terran to deal with if the DTs do not get caught on the way there, or if you do not catch the Dark Shrine with a scan or a drop or something earlier.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, the mid to late game potential for those units as well is ridiculous. If you have the strong enough economy to be warping in a bunch of DTs, not just for the harassment, but to dive on top of those tanks, eliminate them from the fight, or even just pester the army, you can do an insane amount of damage. Like, your army just evaporates before you even drop that scan to clean it up. So that's something to keep in mind, especially as Time moves out here for his first bit of pressure.
Yeah, and his bit of pressure actually might be more of a shove, Zeph, or maybe even a punch in the ribs. This is a lot of Terran army. Now, there are Colossi here, but the tank count from Time is not too bad either. It's really going to come down to execution for both players. Charge is also done for Firefly, which is incredibly important for fighting back an army like this. But this terrain is so tough. Firefly needs to get those Colossus back. Even with extended thermal lance, there's only 2 Colossi, so he needs to be very careful.
Yep, DTs have been warped in there on the way to cause some trouble, but this army is so big and it's right on the front doorstep. He's going to be able to start shelling away at this third base now. DTs have arrived in the third base of Time, and they're only whacking away at his bunker at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Time, it hasn't got a scan by the looks of things. Some DTs are doing damage. It comes to charge lots. There's actually not that many charge lots from Firefly. The tank count's still quite high. And the Colossi being target fire, good target fire from Time. Even if the tanks do get cleaned up, they're going to at least take a lot of expensive units with it, taking down the sentries as well. Yes, Time got cleaned up, and Firefly does have the bigger army supply at the moment, but Time is actually deflecting and also still pressuring with a small group of bio here. Considering the Colossus is so low, he might dive for it. Really respecting the Stalkers, at least, and the charge lots as well. Time gonna have to pick up a pull back and make another wave here back at home and take a bit of a breather. Time really trying to get up a 4th base and trying to out-macro the Protoss. Like, you generally don't see Terran getting a 4th around the same time as a Protoss, but Time is trying to do it, and he is definitely ahead on upgrades. So macro not missing a beat for the Terran. It's a pretty close game.
Yeah. Time's still looking really comfortable at home. He's got some missile turrets up now, grabbing the center turret on the left of that third base as well, just to keep eye on things and securing that fourth base. I mean, things are going pretty swimmingly. We've got the DT blink coming in now, so perhaps that can make some changes in Firefly's favor, but I feel like Time's pretty on top of it at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, again, like we talked about it earlier, there was a window where Firefly's army was bigger than Time's and better than Time's. That window is closing, and some would argue even closed at this point, as the the Viking count's a little bit higher. We've got ghosts on the map here soon. We've got enhanced shockwave on the way for EMP for those ghosts. So a lot of what Protoss has that's very, very powerful until, like, you have your 5 bases. Firefly is finally at that probe count that you want to be at. He was actually chilling on like 60 odd probes for a bit. Firefly's probe count not as big as you would normally have at this point. He's going to rely very heavily on sort of what looks to be kind of a parting-esque TvP, where you put a lot of energy and resources into DTs and trying to use a ton of DTs to blink in, pick things off, and get out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Double warp prism in the mix. Boy, if that doesn't stir things up, I don't know what will. Time is moving out again. He's got quite a force built up. He's not bothering with multi-prong or anything at the moment. He's going for those big frontal attacks. Siege tanks at the back to shell away at the Nexus. And this is not the longest rush distance when you've taken that fourth base. You've got a really good position to take here, and already you see Firefly having to move down the ramp a little bit to figure out how he's going to engage this army. Ghosts in the play, they're looking for big EMPs, and they get him.
Yeah, pretty tasty EMPs there. Prism's coming in. Double Prism actually from Firefly, but Time has a ton of units in the main. The planetary will die, so Firefly does make sure that Time does not get away with this for free, but Time's not done. His army continuing to advance here at the fourth base of Firefly. These DTs, man, that's so annoying for Time to have to deal with. He does have some ghosts in the main base. He's got bunkers, of course. He's remaking his command centers with his minerals, and there was a recall there from Firefly. So the DT harassment coming home, and we'll take a breather before retreating onto the map again.
He actually ran one extra DT towards that fourth base location, so Time does have to burn another scan on the other side of the map as well to finally clean that up. He's moving in here. Oh, the Colossi are all falling, and Stalkers alone are not going to be enough to hold on to this position.
DTs, though. DTs coming in from the backside. They're going to grab those tanks. The bio should be next. Time picks up the Nexus, though, loads up the medevacs and says, see ya. Peace. Gets out of there with the bio, loses a lot of his Vikings, but keep in mind that also Firefly lost his Colossi, so the Colossi count's been reset, and Firefly at the moment is really lacking for splash damage. What's the Colossus count out? What's his splash damage looking like, Insano? Help me out! It's 0, Zeph! He's only got gateway units, and that's very, very bad for you as Protoss against Terran.
Yeah, it's not looking great. He lost 2 Nexi as well. Firefly's now expanding towards the bottom left location. He's still got about 1 billion DTs, which is probably
maybe 1.5 billion.
Like, you're basically guaranteed to do some damage. What you're hoping for, though, is that you do a lot of damage without really getting cleaned up, because that's a very expensive form of harassment or sniping key units. And Time's already moving out again towards that previous base location. Unfortunately, there's nothing here to attack, so he may just need to move back into that fourth. Oh, here's some medevacs he prepared.
We've still got that unit tab open, so we are seeing that there's still a lack of splash damage for Firefly. That Colossus is about to pop out, but it's one Colossus, one whole Colossus here, Seth. The DTs come in, but the turret is offering detection range. The bunkers will take them out. These DTs, of course, trying to do their best on the bio. Police forward is killing quite a few of the ghosts, but still so much bio remaining. Time is just going to rip and tear through this natural, and I think that Firefly might be done.
Yeah. Despite the best efforts of those DTs, more coming in from the back.
Oh my god,
the
DTs,
scans.
man. Not bad.
I mean, all right, cool.
Yeah, see, that is like, he may get the cleanup here, but it doesn't really matter. I think Time's just got way too much army still. Like, he's got a lot more at home that he's not brought across the map just yet.
Death is unfortunately imminent.
Yes.
Yeah, the army supply has been quite heavily in Time's favor for maybe 4-ish minutes at this point, and he's just moving out again with more units. Firefly will eventually run out of steam here. He can keep whopping DTs in all day. In fact, he's already lost an obscene amount of those units, but those are the only things that are really keeping him alive. 22 DTs. Wow.
22 DTs. That's like late game parting versus TY kind of DT count. Oh, there's an EMP right there. These DTs will be uncloaked for a little bit. That Colossus is running on fumes. Not a whole lot left in the tank for that Colossus. It's only got shields, basically. Hit points are almost non-existent. Another Nexus goes down. Time's up a base now against the Protoss. And still has Ghost in this army. Still has an army that can, once the Colossus goes down, really just rip through those Stalkers. DT's coming for the back line. Looks like he's going to go for the aggressive blink again. Goes for the aggressive blink. May pick up the tank. So fresh Colossus coming in from downtown. Time overextending a little bit. But once again, this is the entire army of Firefly. And this is not the entire army from Time. In fact, Time could be, I feel like at this point, Time's just trying not to throw the game. But I was going to say, he could just F2 here. Grab everything and just go across the map.
Yeah, he's pretty comfortable. He's got great mining. He's taking pretty good fights. EMP's coming down. He's able to take out most of the forces of Firefly each time he engages. And Firefly's just not really getting a chance to upgrade himself here. He's stuck on the same tech. He's using DTs mostly defensively because he just doesn't have enough to hold on with otherwise, and it is too